Hello and good evening from the base alpha test facility. You're looking at a live view of the fully integrated Fusion 4 booster and Gryphon spacecraft, the world's largest and most powerful rocket, awaiting its second test mission in a little under 10 minutes from now. Thank you for tuning into today's webcast. It has been only 55 days since our first launch of Gryphon back in June, and there's nothing quite like test programs. We don't know what to expect from test flights like this, but if all goes well, we hope to surpass what was accomplished on our first flight test. The primary goal of these test missions is to prove capability and gain real-world performance data so that we can finalize our next-generation vehicle design, which is aimed to debut early next year. But before we dive into all the details, let's take a look at Gryphon's first flight, which launched on the 22nd of June. At 8 p.m. local time, Gryphon's first stage successfully started all 25 engines and commanded a throttle up for liftoff, marking Gryphon's first ever launch. The vehicle began pitching downrange and successfully cleared max Q, which is the greatest stress point on the vehicle during the climb uphill. 3 minutes into the flight, the first stage initiated a flip, using the engines before shutting them all down and initiating stage separation. This maneuver was intentional to create clearance between the stages during second stage ignition. Future iterations of the vehicle will reduce the time between separation and ignition. All 6 engines were successfully started on the second stage. However, the first stage experienced a severe anomaly during its boost back burn, leading to several aborted startups and engine explosions, which ultimately prevented us from completing our landing objectives. Despite that, we pressed on with the second stage's mission, but during a planned shutdown of 3 engines, a catastrophic fire was detected in the engine cavity and engine enclosures, followed by a massive propellant leak. The second stage began automatically shutting down the remaining engines, and a flight passivation event was triggered by the onboard computer, allowing the second stage to fall harmlessly within a pre-planned exclusion zone. The probable cause of the first stage engine failures during the boost back burn was traced back to improper conditioning of the engines after MECO, just shortly before they were commanded to restart. This led to several engines experiencing mistimed events, creating stress on several important components. New procedures and software designs have been implemented to increase relight reliability for both the boost back and landing burns. And the probable cause of the catastrophic leaks on the second stage was most likely the result of undiscovered damage to feed lines supplying each engine with liquid oxygen. This damage was caused by a static fire, which ended with an engine explosion back in February of this year. The damage is theorized to have weakened several joints, which wasn't a problem until the engines were firing for a prolonged period of time. Several hardware upgrades were made to those feed lines for today's test flight, and the quality assurance team has modified its procedures for sensitive components. And that takes us to today's flight. So you can see Gryphon on the launch pad, but let's take a little moment to get to know the vehicle. So here's a view of the booster, and we can see some stats here. It stands roughly 69 meters tall, and it weighs 300 tons, which is a lot, but this is a development prototype, so we'll lower that figure over time. Each first stage currently costs $115 million to make, and while this sounds like a lot, we are planning to reuse these things multiple times, so the cost is negligible. And right there, you can see 4 grid fins wiggling on your screen. Those are what we use to steer the vehicle on its way back down from space. And a fun fact is that those grid fins are about the size of your average car. There's our Gryphon spacecraft. It really is the key element of the rocket. It's going to be the thing that takes droods into orbit of several planets in the future, which is so exciting. And when it isn't carrying people, it will eventually be capable of carrying 200 tons of cargo to interplanetary destinations. And on your screen there are some stats for ALS NG, which is used in a little bit of an unconventional manner. You may have noticed it on our first launch. But we don't use a vacuum-optimized variant of the engine on our second stage. And that's really to simplify maintenance on those engines by reducing the variability of components We also just do not need the additional performance you'd get from a bigger nozzle. And there you can see the heat shield, which consists of 16,000 square tiles. They're very complex, and today we are hoping to get some actual performance data from them for the very first time. We aren't expecting it to hold up perfectly, but we believe the second stage could lose a few tiles with very little damage as a result.
Propellant loading complete.
And it sounds like propellant loading has been completed on both stages for today's flight. We're now in the busy part of the countdown, where events start to happen really quickly. In a few minutes, the pad will begin closeout procedures to minimize combustion risks, as the plume and shock waves absolutely punish the launch pad. We're also doing final checkouts on the vehicle itself and configuring systems for flight. If we're lucky, we could see some wiggle checks. And at the 1 minute mark, we'll get the final go from the flight director. That's all from me. I'll be back after liftoff. Enjoy the show.
Closeouts are underway. Tank press started. FD is go for launch. "30 seconds, proceed past checkpoint." T minus 15. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Go Gryphon. Booster aeolus chamber pressure nominal.
We are over 30 seconds into Gryphon's second test flight, and we can see all 25 aeolus engines ignited on our Fusion 4 booster. We've heard all good callouts so far. Coming up next will be maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Both stages avionics and telemetry nominal.
Continuing to hear that our systems are looking nominal, it is just great to see Gryphon taking to the skies once again.
Vehicle has cleared max Q.
So, we've cleared through max Q. Coming up next are going to be a few events simultaneously. And that will be the flip maneuver, followed by the shutdown of all 25 Aeolus NG engines on the first stage. And then the clamps holding the second stage will unlatch, allowing it to float away freely. We'll then ignite all 6 engines on the second stage to begin that orbit insertion, as the booster ignites its 9 center engines to start that boost back burn.
Booster aeolus chamber pressure nominal.
So we're coming up on that flip separation now. Get ready to see all of those first stage engines shut down.
Booster engine cut off.
Stage separation.
Second stage ignition.
Boost back startup.
And there we go. It looks like we've got 5 of the 6 engines on that second stage. This is okay. We do have some engine out capability, and the first stage has started that boost back burn with all 9 engines. Pretty soon we'll go down to just the 3 landing engines for fine-tuning, and the second stage will also down select to 3 engines because we don't need the thrust of all 6 engines today.
Boost back shut down.
That boost back burn has just been completed. That is excellent news. It'll now begin reorienting itself for that entry ahead of its landing burn, and we can also see that the ship is still going strong.
Ship prop systems nominal.
It looks like the booster has finished that maneuver ahead of its descent. Now, we may actually get some fascinating views. The camera we're currently looking at is actually mounted on one of those grid fins, so it should move around once we really start encountering the thicker parts of the atmosphere. And as we wait for the booster to land, we are getting close to the projected time that the second stage will shut down its engines and begin its coast phase. And we did just lose another engine, but we'll stick with the ship and see if it can make it. Those grid fins are really starting to work now. You can see the camera view moving with that fin, and the ship is still performing well. We're actually about to shut down the remaining engines.
Booster and ship FTS is saved.
Ship engine cutoff. Gryphon nominal orbit insertion.
Booster landing burn startup. Landing burn shutdown.
Looks like we had a pretty rough landing burn attempt there, but the first stage did make it back down. This is incredible for the teams, and I have no doubt we have tons of data to improve the next flight. And even better, the second stage is on its desired trajectory. We said we wanted to surpass our first flight, and we absolutely did. Congratulations to the entire Gryphon team. This is incredible. And now we'll be going on a short break. We're not expecting many views because we'll be on the dark side of Drew, but at Apoapsis we will deploy a little satellite which is going to look back at the ship. That'll be at roughly 270 kilometers, so stay tuned. Another goal for today is a test of one engine while in space, and I'm hearing we're still going for that. So overall, an exciting mission. Enjoy the views. We'll see you in roughly 20 minutes for that relight burn. See you then.
Camera experiment deployment confirmed. Ship tile observation maneuver has started. Ship is reorienting for relight type.
If you're just joining us, welcome to the live coverage of Gryphon's second test flight. We had a successful liftoff with all 25 engines and made it to stage separation, with one engine shutting down prematurely. The booster then completed a full-duration boost-back burn, before completing a controlled descent, where it initiated its landing burn. As far as we know, it wasn't a smooth burn, but our teams will assess it to improve performance for the next flight. The ship managed to get to space, despite experiencing 2 engine failures, which is a good demonstration of our resiliency and redundancy. Gryphon is supposed to be reliable, and it should be capable of accounting for off-nominal situations. Right now we're in a coast phase, where the ship has been doing some maneuvers, mainly for the deployable camera to get a good look at everything, but also to demonstrate our control authority and pressure management. Coming up in just a few seconds is going to be a relight test of one ALS NG engine. That burn should last for 6 seconds. It'll be at a low throttle to minimize trajectory change, and if something doesn't look right, we can skip it. This burn is not mission critical and is merely to demonstrate Gryphon's in-space capabilities.
Aeolus ignition. Aeolus shutdown. Gryphon nominal trajectory.
And just like that, we have completed all of our in-space objectives for today. Once again, congratulations to the teams. Now for the next few minutes, we'll enter another coast phase as Gryphon approaches the atmosphere. So we'll be back for Gryphon entry in a little bit. See you then.
Gryphon is in nominal altitude. Flaps have control of the vehicle.
Welcome back to Gryphon's second flight test. We're still having a great mission today. The second stage did get itself into its re-entry orientation, and you can see some plasma now forming on the heat shield. This portion of flight is going to be really tough on the vehicle as the body of the rocket compresses the air around it. That air heats up and begins to form plasma around the spacecraft, and this is why we have our heat shield tiles.
Peak heating.
They'll hopefully protect the spacecraft from getting critically hot and essentially melting. Another thing we need to deal with is aerodynamic drag. This is going to create immense lateral forces on the second stage, so this will be a great test for our structural team. Now, we aren't planning to recover Gryphon today, and it isn't actually targeting anything. However, this flight profile is representative of what we'll be doing from orbit, so we need to verify that the spacecraft can handle these forces. We already have select areas we're watching based on simulation work, but we're pretty confident that we'll get most of the way down, if not all the way down. This entry process will take quite a while, and it will happen in several phases. So the first phase, which we're in right now, is a thermal management phase, where the second stage is in an orientation that promotes lift. This will reduce strain on the spacecraft, and we might even see it start going back up temporarily. Once we start descending again, we would enter an active targeting phase, but since we're not targeting anything today, we'll simply hold attitude. And once we cross a certain speed threshold, the spacecraft will enter the last phase, and you'll see the nose pitch down to be level with the horizon until we get to the landing burn. That'll start at 1 kilometer with one engine to flip the vehicle up, and then we'll start another 2 engines and flip retrograde to bleed off our velocity. If all goes well, Gryphon should touch down softly and potentially even survive for analysis, but no promises. Until we get to the landing burn, we'll be going on another quick break. So enjoy the views of the plasma, and we'll be back shortly.
System execute.
Gryphon is transitioning into the battle phase of stealth.
Welcome for the final time to today's coverage of Gryphon's second test flight. As you can see, Gryphon has made it through re-entry, which is just phenomenal. We did observe some hotspots on the way down, but there wasn't any critical damage that we're aware of right now. So right now, we're on our final approach for that landing burn. We're hoping to light up 3 engines and go down to 2 for the final touchdown. We've currently got a great view of those aft fins doing their job to keep the spacecraft in the desired attitude. We are also looking at a redesign of those, but just to see them actually work in this configuration today is great.
Landing burn startup.
And we've got all 3 engines.
Landing burn shutdown.
Good shutdown.
What an incredible end to today's flight. We do have a ship in the water. It does look like we got all those engines as expected. Congratulations to the Fusion Space teams. And we did lose the feed. It looks like the ship may have popped, but that is fine. We did not intend to actually recover anything today, so that will bring our coverage to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's webcast. If you want to see more videos and information about this flight and more, then you can stay up to date on our socials. Once again, congratulations to all the teams who worked together on the Gryphon program. This vehicle is incredibly complex, and we just got one step closer to achieving the dream today. Have a great remainder of your day, and we hope to see you next time. Goodbye.